This is SW272Q, and this will be the world first unboxing of this display. It is BenQ latest 27-inch 2K hardware calibrated display for photographer, with the biggest feature being the fine coated panel and many other new features as well. I'm going to unbox this, set it up, and give you my first impression of this display. Based on what I have seen in the SW272U already, I think the fine coated panel, that matte panel that I'm talking about, is going to be really fantastic. However, we're not just only going to unbox one display, we're going to unbox two. So there is a special edition SW display that I'll share later on this video that I'll be unboxing and sharing that experience with all of you as well. So let's unbox these together. This is ArtIsRight. Before we start, subscribe if you're new and hit on the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I upload cool new videos like this. Full disclosure, I am BenQ Global Ambassador for their Pro Display line. This would include their SW series hardware calibrated display for photographers, which we'll be unboxing, and also their PD Pro Designer series as well. BenQ have sent me these displays to do an unboxing, review, long-term testing, and also educational videos, which I'll be sharing on my channel. And with that in mind, let's open up the SW272Q. This is the 27-inch 2K model. One thing to note is that when you are unboxing this, if you have lifted the box by using the flap on the side, what you want to do first is unhinge those flaps. Otherwise, you cannot lift the paper cardboard top portion of this box. All right. Opening up, what we get very first thing is pretty much the individual calibration report. This comes with all SW display models. So let's take a look at how this SW272Q is performing right out of the box. For this one, this unit has an average delta E of 0.31 and a max delta E of 1.43. This is really fantastic for these displays. And now with this new series, the SW272 series, BenQ have actually gone in and reduced the max delta E down to 1.5, and that's really awesome. It tells you the box content exploded. Pretty much Palette Master Ultimate is a new hardware calibration software and is fantastic, really fast, really awesome. It has a new Gen 3 Hotkey Puck wireless, and also this comes with a shading hood. Now, pretty much unboxing this is going to be very similar to unboxing the SW272U. That is the 4K version. This is the 2K version, with the only difference being the shading hood. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. So first, let's get the components out. This is the new arm, the redesigned one, which we have, some of you, if you've been following my videos, you have already seen this in the SW272U. So we'll set that on the table. We also have this plastic cover for the I/O on the back. And at first I thought this was flimsy. However, when you really put it on there, it's just really sturdy. And this is actually not as big as a PD model. So this, I think, fits better than even the PD model that are around before it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is bring this up. And I forgot to pull the tabs out before, so I'm going to pull the tabs out on the side now. All right, inside we have a few things. So we have a new base. This is pretty much the brand new base that comes with this display. And it's flat, and we can see that it is pretty much a letterette with the word photo view engraved in the very front there. Really nice, really subdued, and this is flat. And I personally think that this offers much more utility compared to the previous generation SW base and design, and I really like that. So what I'm going to do first is assemble this together. So what I'll simply do is just align these two up like so. Screw this in. You can just hand tighten this, but if you want this to be really sturdy, what I would probably do is maybe use a screwdriver there, and you can use a Phillips on the bottom, or even just like a coin, you can just do that too, but hand tight should be fine. Another thing to be careful of as well with the base is that there's that little pigtail there, or the little cable organizer. This thing may break off if you're not careful, so that's just something that I would definitely keep in mind. But because this is actually flush, you can see right now if I hold it this way, it's pretty much flush with the back of the base. It's probably less likely for it to break off than the PD series, but that's something to note there. We also got a box of goodies. This is like a little treasure box, I guess. Oh, it comes with a screen cleaner, a lens cloth that says BenQ right there. This is really cool. This is literally the first time unboxing a full SW272 series. I have done an unboxing before, a short. However, that one has already been opened. It's a pre-production unit, so this is the first production unit. Another thing I also want to share with us so that we can note as well is that for availability of these models, I would definitely contact your local BenQ or your authorized dealer in your country and territory, because they may not all be available at the same time. That's the first thing. Secondly, the other thing I want to share with you as well is that a lot of the stickers, a lot of the, I would say like screen labels that are on here, don't take this as a rule of thumb, because it may be different in each different countries and territories. If you have something that looks different, it doesn't necessarily mean that the box have already been opened before. It just means that each country or each territory have different regulations and they have to put different stickers on there. What we get in this box, box here, is we have this battery. This is for the Wireless Hotkey Puck, so BenQ does provide 2 AAAs there. And there's also the Pantone Connect, which you get 1 year for free with that. There's the safety instructions and pretty much the warranty for the display. Put these to the side. Right beneath here, this is the Hotkey Puck Gen 3, which I really like because there is an info button, and the info button is super useful for calibrating multiple calibration slots, especially the one that has 3, like these displays, so that you can know exactly what the settings are. And I already made a video about that, talking about it, but pretty much this is the Wireless Hotkey Puck Gen 3, fresh out of the box. A couple other cables we have is an HDMI to HDMI. We also got USB-C to USB-C, and BenQ also have increased the length of the USB-C to USB-C in these new models, so that's going to be much easier for you to reach the different, I would say, postures on your equipment that you have. There is a USB Type A to USB Type B. This is used in the event that you should use DisplayPort to DisplayPort, mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort, or HDMI. Anything that's not USB-C, you need to use that connection in conjunction with this to connect your display. There's the power cable, and also there is a full DisplayPort to full DisplayPort. So BenQ have gone away with the mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort that they ship with this, and now this comes with a full DisplayPort to a DisplayPort, which is really awesome. This is going to be a great thing for many PC users out there. So I'll put this Go box back. In this box itself is pretty much a shading hood. I might not be setting this up particularly for this video. I might do that for the full review. But the difference between the SW272Q and the SW272U is that the Q model only comes with a shading hood for the horizontal orientation, which is what most of us are going to be using the display to do anyway. The U model, the 4K model, also comes with the 2 extension pieces, so you can turn the display vertical and have a vertical shading hood. So those are just some of the minor differences, but otherwise they're just pretty much the same. In fact, I'll just open this up to show you what's inside the box. So these are all the different shading hood components you can see right there on the camera. And now we arrive at the panel. And this is, like I said, the first time pulling this panel out. And in fact, it's probably the world's first unboxing outside of BenQ for this SW272Q. So I'm really looking forward to this. Right, so we have a couple of cover right there. A quick start guide that's pretty much built into the display. Again, I haven't had a chance to see something like this before because the other unit was a pre-production unit that has already been opened. And simply enough, what we're going to do is pretty much put this on the stand. So to do that, what we're really going to do, I'll turn this to the side, is you can just carefully lift the display out like so. In fact, I'll turn this to the back a little bit. You can see we're going to latch at the very top there, and the handle is just at the very top. It's really awesome. And just snap it in place like that. Pretty much you're done. If you want to release this from the stand, just press that button and just, push the display out, just like so. Really simple, really nice. BenQ logo on the back. I mean, the design for this generation is much more subdued. I really like that, and it's also much sleeker than what have come before. So here it is. This is the SW272Q, the 2K model. Let's take this out and let's see how matte the display is, which is something I'm really looking forward to. Now, some of you are wondering if this display is compatible with VESA. It is. So pretty much if we don't use the stand right here, what we can simply do is pop this open, and on the back, there are little screws there that are already in place. So pretty much you just have to put the VESA 100 by 100 stand in there, and you can pretty much hang this on the wall or use it on an arm that you may already have too. But this panel, it looks absolutely fantastic. This is BenQ newest fine coated panel, and I'm telling you, this is 80 to 90% SW321C. And if you have seen that one before, that is pretty much what they call like their art panel, which is super matted, but this comes really close. And I'll tell you, this is what is going to distinguish this model lineup from the previous generation SW and also from any other hardware calibrated display out there as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna unbox another display first, and then we're going to plug both of them in together and set this up, and I'll give you my impressions about these displays when they're linked up to a computer system. For now, I'm gonna reset the studio to unbox the Special Edition SW display. And we're gonna find out in a bit what that one is. All right, so I have reset the studio a little bit and moved the Special Edition SW box to the very top so we can unbox this. Some of you may be wondering what this one is. This is pretty much SW272U. However, this unit is pretty much customized to me and is not a pre-production unit. Really cool, right? So this is also not fully a retail unit either, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So let's unbox this together right now. Similar to the SW272Q, when you open this up, we also get the individual calibration report. For this unit, what I am getting for delta E, let's find out what we get here. This is pretty much an average delta E of 0.29. That is extremely low with a max of 1.2. These are really awesome panel right from the factory. Now you may be wondering, should you do a custom calibration anyway? My answer is always going to be yes, because even though factory calibrations is really good, as you can see here, it does not account for the variations that happens from your computer, from the computer operating system to your hardware to drivers or on your system. Custom calibration with Palette Master Ultimate is going to be the best thing to do. It gives you the box breakdown as well, Palette Master Ultimate, Hotkey Puck Gen 3, the shading hood, which comes in both orientation, as I mentioned already, and I am really looking forward to this one. So first, let's take the arm out. Pretty much everything of this edition, based on what I've known so far, is going to be very similar to what we have already unboxed, with one exception, and that has to do with the base stand. So I'm really looking forward to that. And being that this is the second unboxing, I am going to pull the lift tab on each side out, so when I lift this up, it doesn't stop this from coming up. All right, now with that out of the way, this is the shading hood, and I'll quickly just show you the extra pieces that comes in this box. So pretty much very similar to the other one, other than the fact that you have two extra pieces right there. These are the pieces to extend the shading hood so that you can use it in a vertical orientation. Otherwise, they're pretty much identical between the two models, the Q and also the U. We're gonna put that aside. Now here comes the base, and this is the ArtIsRight Edition base, which I am really looking forward to. Let's see what this looks like. So unlike the other one, which is just letterette, this one, oh, it's a little different letter with like stitching on the side, and it has ArtIsRight there. Take a look at that. That is just super cool, and it has photo view. So it's just a touch different, but this is also really giving us a lot of inspiration, right? One thing that I always thought the BenQ should have done with this base is allow us to customize, and if you could do this, would you want to put your studio name or, you know, your name as a photographer on this base? I mean, let me know in the comments below. Maybe if we have enough comments on this, BenQ will make this an option that you can order. But this is really, really cool. All right, so I'm going to assemble the base together with this again, and what I'm simply going to do is pretty much just join them together like so. You're gonna see from a top-down view, and just pretty much use my hand there to just tie this down pretty much to the stand. Now this type of customization is also ingenious as well, because if there is ever any replacement that needs to be done under warranty, well, you just really replace the panel and not necessarily the base, which you can still keep the base, and that's really awesome. So I'm gonna pull that out for the little cable organizer. We'll set this on the table. And inside this treasure box is pretty much very similar to the SW272Q. We have this cleaning cloth. We also got the safety instructions and also the double or two AAA batteries for the Hotkey Puck. Inside we have the Hotkey Puck Gen 3. Now, because I have two of these new generation displays, technically what I can do is just use one Hotkey Puck and just pretty much pair one channel. On the back of the Hotkey Puck, let me pull the other one up to quickly show you. And I'll make a video about this as well, is that on the very back there's 1, 2, and 3. This allows you to really control different SW display disc. So I can have one, for example, for the Q, 2 can be for the U, and then 3, I believe this is the mode that controls third display, or you can also do a combo where you can work on 2 displays at once. I'm still looking for an answer for that one, so I will have more clarity when I do the full video on how to customize this Hotkey Puck Gen 3, but it's really a cool thing. So very similar to the other one, we have a full HDMI to HDMI, we have a longer USB-C to USB-C, the power cable, the USB A to USB Type B. Again, you need to use this if you're using HDMI or a DisplayPort connection, and a full DisplayPort to DisplayPort. So we'll pull all those out. And I am looking forward to bringing the panel out of the box. All right, so here comes the panel. The other thing I also really like about unboxing these Pro displays that only go up to about 32 inches, that is so easy to hold this. I can hold this in one hand. I mean, I'll tell you right now, when I have to do unboxing for the EX4X0UZ from BenQ, that is their OLED gaming display. I mean, that was really huge. It was really hard to do. But anyway, we have the quick start guide. This is, again, something that I haven't seen before, so I'm just gonna share this with all of you now. So these are just pretty much the guide on how to pretty much unbox this, set it up, put the hotkey puck in and everything, and the angle of the hotkey puck that will work. But what I'm going to do is just skip this and we'll do the mounting again. Because I already showed you once, I'm just going to simply snap it in like so, and we're going to pretty much take all the tapes out from this quick start guide. And what I'm going to do, if you give me a moment, we're going to reset the studio. I'm going to link both of these up to my Mac, and we'll talk a little bit more about the display, and I'll give you my first impression of it. I reset the studio and managed to fit in 3 SW displays to do a quick comparison. I'll also be doing more in-depth comparison in the future, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that. There's a few things I'd like to share before we power on the display, maybe run a calibration on them, and I'll give you my first impression and talk about some of the features of these displays. Number one is pretty much the cable. You may see that on these displays itself, they are plugged in, but you don't see the cable. This is not because of camera angle or because BenQ have redesigned the organizer at the bottom. This is because this has been meticulously set up with a lot of Velcro. So if you want to have your cables organized similar to what I have right now, I highly recommend using Velcro on your display and get, one that you can just pretty much cut to size. It's going to help out a lot. Now, for those of you who are keen eye, you may notice that these 2 displays are slightly off the table, the base of it. So this is the only way I can fit in 3 displays to do a quick comparison. Do not do this at your studio setup at home or wherever you use your BenQ display. This is a professional setup. I made sure that everything is stable, but in your setup, make sure that the entire display and the stand is pretty much on the table so that you have a stable setup and you don't have to worry about your display dropping or anything like that and damaging the panel. All right, with that in mind, we're going to talk about these displays. These 2 are the new SW272 series. So we have the U, the 27-inch 4K, we have the Q, the 27-inch 2K, and we also have the SW270C, which is also a 27-inch 2K. All of these are hardware calibrated display. They can show 99% Adobe RGB and some variation in the 90+% P3 color gamut. Now, with this in mind, you can see right away that these 272 generation comes with a new fine coated panel, which is pretty much looks like matte paper. It's barely reflecting any light that I have in the studio, and I have 2 lights right now. Both of these, the 272U and also the 270C, they're angled at about pretty much the same angle, just in the opposite direction. This one is really showing the light in the studio, where this one is just pretty much diffusing everything. And all this are pretty much linked up to my 14-inch MacBook Pro. This happened to have the M2 Max SoC. This is the one with the mini LED display, or what Apple called their XDR display, Liquid Retina XDR. But you can see that this is a glossy panel, and if I move this up and down, you can see the light pretty much just showing the shape right in the studio right now. What I'm also going to do is use a white light like this and just show you kind of how it is pretty much reflecting on different surfaces. So you can choose this, and let me just do it this way so that it doesn't show that much. There we go. You can see how much more diffused the new panel is compared to even the matted panel that comes before it. So these are things to think about. Now, a few things to note as well is that if you are in the US, the SW270C is still going to be a product line that you can still purchase alongside the new 272Q for the time being anyway, so it's not being discontinued. It's just that now you have more options for different 2K hardware calibrated display that you can choose for your workflow. Now beyond this, what we're going to do is let's power this on. But one more thing I want to quickly point out is that the 270C series and anything that comes before this series are using a second generation hotkey puck, which is wired one, and you have to plug that into the display and it will only control one display. With these new 272 series, starting with this one anyway, BenQ have introduced a hotkey puck Gen 3, and with this, what's really cool is that this one puck can control multiple SW displays. So you no longer have to rely on the puck that is plugged into each individual display. Just one will allow you to control multiple SWs. All right, let's turn these on and see how they look. Now, the first time you turn these on, you may notice that on the new ones, it will show you the input source right now is display port, which is not the one that we want. So first thing what we need to do is go in and choose the input source. For this, I am going to choose USB-C. None of these displays, the SW series, have auto input detection. So that's something to note right there. I'm also going to do this on this one as well. But once you set this up, based on the input that you're using, you should be good. And I also have to allow permission for the display to be used on here. All right, perfect. So all these are set up right now. The nice thing too about this new generation is that you see some dialogue that popped up there. This is pretty much giving you the information about what type of signal it's using and so forth. And the colors are off right now because none of these are really calibrated, but it looks really amazing in person. So the one thing that I want to quickly share with us as well is that if you have these three panels next to each other, out of the box, they're going to show color that are slightly different. Part of it is because the panel resolution, the actual panel inside there are different, and also the backlight between something that's being used on the 4K versus 2K are going to be different. And the other thing is that my SW270C, I have done numerous calibration on that, so it's not even on the correct calibration right now. This is also another reason why you may want to do a hardware calibration on these displays when you link them up to your system so that everything looks consistent. And with Palette Master Ultimate new display clone function, this is going to be really fantastic to match all these displays together. Now with this in mind, I also want to share with you as well as that Palette Master Ultimate is also compatible with Calibryte newest device. This is their Display Plus HL and also Display Pro HL, especially if you have an Apple laptop with an XDR, Liquid Retina XDR display. This will be the 14 or 16-inch MacBook Pro. I highly recommend looking at these devices because now they can also do a full calibration with mini LED display. But these are pretty much the new displays that we have right now. In fact, why don't we run a hardware calibration using Palette Master Ultimate on the SW272Q with all these linked up to the system, and let's see how this works. So I'm calling out Palette Master Ultimate right now, and we're simply going to choose the display we want to use. This will be the SW272Q. Now that pops up on the correct display. I need to plug in the device, which I totally forgot. Now the other thing too that's new about these new SW272 series is that the plug is now right on the bottom of the display in the front, so you can just pretty much plug these in. And because the Display Plus HL is already compatible, what I'm simply going to do is choose the device from the list. And for this, I'm simply going to choose Color Checker Display Plus because it's still all in the same family, so you can just choose that. And give it a moment, it's going to refresh. We're going to click on Start, and I'm just going to quickly run through a standard photography calibration. Something to note as well is that on the new 272 series, the U and the Q, there's also a little checkbox for uniformity as well. This is going to load the uniformity data, which is really cool. We'll do a calibration in slot 1. We'll click on Next, and let's see how this goes. Let's fire this up. Now, while this is going, I also want to point out a few things as well, is that this is one of the very first time that the SW series, both the 4K and 2K version, are released at the same time. This way you can make the decision right away which one you want. And pretty much the design is exactly the same, so you still get the fine-coded panel. You just really have to pick the resolution. That's something really great about it. The stand, everything else are just pretty much exactly the same. And you may also note as well is that if you have a 270C, the design, the language of it in general, the display, the panel, pretty much look very similar to each other. It doesn't really stand out too much at all when you really have them next to each other, because this also has 3-side infinity edge. The new one also has 3 sides infinity edge as well. It's just that the stands are a little bit different in the previous generation versus the latest generation SW display. So we're going to have this calibrate through right now, and then what we're going to do is take a look at the validation result and wrap this up. All right, so the calibration have completed. Let's check the report. It have done the validation pretty much in session in UPMU. I've made so many guides on it already. It's really neat. Average delta E 0.75, maximum delta E 1.66, all delta E values under 2. Something to know as well is that the guaranteed delta E value of 1.5, that's from the factory calibration. That is the sheet that comes with the display. When you run the calibration on your own, if you have the max delta E value below 2, that is considered good, and there's really nothing to worry about that. And even if it's just slightly above 2 from time to time, that's also going to be okay as well. And because I'm feeling a little bit adventurous, I'm going to speed forward most of these calibration that I'm about to do, but I'm going to do display matching for all of these displays and see if we can get the colors to match between all these SW on my table before we wrap this up. So let's try that. The next one up will be the SW272U, which is the one right there. So we're going to do photography. We're going to click on edit target, and for this what we're simply going to choose at the very top there, once we click on edit target, is other monitor, measure all. So this is saying that you should only do this on SW displays, and yes, this is another SW display. So I'm going to drag this window over to this SW272Q. Press next. I have already the device on the display. I'll start the measurement, and we're going to repeat this process for the SW270C as well. This is going to be a fun experiment to see what's going to happen in the end. All right, it has the value right there. Pretty much what I'm going to do now is click on done. It's going to take all those values in, and I'll put this in calibration 1 as well. Click on next. Let's put the device on the display. All right, we'll have this run through its calibration, then we'll do one more. Then we're going to wrap this whole thing up at the end. But before that, we're going to see what result are we getting from this SW272U when we try to match it to the 272Q. This is going to be really fantastic. Let's check our report. Average delta E 0.66, maximum delta E 1.18. What this is really telling us is that the variation of this display compared to this one is pretty much very small, that our human eyes can't tell them apart. That's really cool. All right, I'm going to complete this calibration, and I'm going to give the program just a moment, and I will select the SW270C, and we're going to try to match all these three display together. This is going to be really great. So we'll start the process again. Whatever default it is, I'm just going to click on edit target. On a drop down menu, I'm going to click on other displays, measure all. It's going to give me the same warning, and for this I am going to drag this onto the SW272Q. And if you want to learn more about Palette Master Ultimate Display Clone, I have made an extensive video explaining all this function, how you use it and everything. This is just a quick overview to demonstrate what really can be done in a scenario like I have right now. So that is finished. I'm going to put the device onto this display. Let's put everything back into its proper orientation first. All right, with this, I'm going to click on done. The value has been loaded in. We're going to use calibration 1. So we're going to start in the process, validate this. We'll take a look at some pictures, and then we'll wrap this whole unboxing up, which ends up becoming so many different things, but this is really just cool. Anyway, we'll be back soon. So the SW270C is almost finished. You may have also noticed there's a speed difference between these calibrations as well on the new 272 series versus the other previous generation that have come before. So I'll put in the actual calibration time and the variation between them for this particular calibration somewhere up on the screen somewhere. You're going to be able to see them. But for now, let's check on the report and see what we were able to achieve. This one, again, really great value. Average 0.69 with a max delta E of 1.24. The variation is pretty much extremely small that you can't really tell that there are any variation between this display, and the SW272Q. So we're going to complete all this out, and let's take a step back, close everything, and appreciate this church in Iceland. Now, when I'm taking a look at this, one of the things really come to mind right away is that the coating on the panel will also change your perception as well. So if you want to have everything that matches perfectly, For example, the U and the Q matches really great. Now, is a 270C matching? It does, but it does show a little bit more saturation, right? Because it's not truly a matte panel or the fine coated panel like the SW272U or 272Q. And when you go into, for example, the Liquid Retina XDR display inside the 14-inch Macro Pro is showing even more saturation. This is something that we notice about glossy displays, that they tend to be more flattering. They're going to show us more contrast. They're going to show us more saturation, more color right away, but not necessarily are these honestly the way how our images are looking. And if you can get your images to look great on these fine coated panel, they're going to look amazing on other panels as well, as you're seeing right now. But if you just get something that looks really good here, they may not translate to anything that looks good on the more matted panel, and doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to look good in print as well. Alright, so this is going to conclude our unboxing and the various testing that we've been doing on this new SW272 series. So the SW272Q review will be coming really soon. The SW272U review is already out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. If there's anything you want me to test, try out, any questions you have about these, leave them in the comments section below. Give this a like, subscribe, and hit on the bell if you're new, and in Art we trust.